Hi friends, and welcome back to Gardening Suburbia. My name is Amanda. I am a gardener here in Zone 6, Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to my channel if you've never been here. This is going to be a little bit different of a video than typical. I do have my garlic harvest in front of me, but I want to talk about goals and dreams and really what I am striving for, my end goal basically. Well, I guess not my end goal, but my next big goal, or what my 5-year, 10-year goals are. So, little background. I grew up in a suburban background, lived in a cookie cutter neighborhood in middle to lower class generation basically. And I really didn't have much. I grew up with what I had, what my parents could do, they did everything that they could, given circumstances that they were dealt. And I basically had the idea that my life would go from finishing school, finishing high school, graduating, and then going to college to therefore basically do the next step in what would be going towards my career, whatever that career path was. And so fresh out of high school, I started going to college at a community college towards a degree that I had picked because my cousins had gone into the same field and said that they had a bunch of opportunities and it was a good field to start out in. Going to that community college, I took or started off with biomedical engineering. And I thought I would be a good fit just because I did really like and enjoy math and sciences and kind of understanding the human body and how we work inside of the universe. And with that, I had to take electives, and one of those electives was art history. And I had such a beautiful soul of an instructor, or professor. She was very encouraging and made you really think about art. Which made me turn to switching my degree to art history, and I just really enjoyed the understanding of why art was art, what made art so important, and like the beauty within that. Because you could take a piece of art and basically form your own opinion of that piece of art, and it could be true, because the saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's the same with art. Someone who may not like minimalism art, so like those paintings like by Mark Rothko, where there's just simplistic, maybe 2 colored blocks on a piece, or a white painting, where there are so many people that were so frustrated with this concept of minimalism because people will say, my child could have done that. But the thing is that they did it in such a time period that was so counterintuitive to what was happening in the art movement at the time, that it was huge and big, and it made people question, is this art? And that's what art is about. And I think that's kind of why I've gotten to where I am now, where gardening is kind of like my art. It's a way of me being able to portray some beautiful construct of nature, and I am the one who's kind of mimicking and playing around with how it's designed. And not every year is going to be the same, not every journey is going to be the same. My garden's not going to be the same as your garden, and your garden's not going to be the same as your neighbors or someone down the street. But the journey that I am on currently is kind of leading me to this path where I want to be more in touch with where my food comes from. I want to know whose hands it's been in and how it was grown, and what kind of pesticides, herbicides, or whatever were or were not used on it. I want to be able to make that choice. I personally would love to fine-tune my business to the point where I am able to stay home and run my business from my home. Whether that is growing a ton of extra food and selling at markets, selling sourdough goods, or just kind of teaching you guys from my own experience. Although my experience, I'm not a perfect gardener. I've never been a perfect gardener. I don't think that I will ever be a perfect gardener. This garlic right here is a very good example of how not perfect of a gardener that I am. Last season I grew my first bunch of garlic, and I think my cloves, at most, were about this size. This is tiny. This is what a single clove from the grocery store would be. Not a head, but a clove. So this is what last year's garlic looked like. Not great. I still, with all of the love in my heart, braided that garlic and hung it in my pantry because I was just so stinking proud of it. This year is better. This year is not perfect. This year is better though. This year I got a substantial amount of garlic that is actually heads of garlic. There still are some smaller heads. These aren't huge by any means, but they're better than what I grew last year. And next year I hope that I will continue to get better and better and better yields of garlic, of tomatoes, of onions. Onions are one of those ones that I struggle with. But I'll get better, and that's because I have the drive and the urge to get better at those things. Because we are not born with our green thumbs. We take the time to practice, to cultivate new skills, and to get better at these things so that we can produce a better harvest. So with that, my goals and aspirations are to one day own a farm. I would love, maybe not in the farm in the sense that you would think, not a big corporate farm where I have 3 acres of corn or anything like that. I'm thinking a homestead, basically. I want a homestead. I want a couple acres, if not more. I would love to share this land with my family. My sister and I have aspirations of starting a flower farm, which we talk about almost weekly. And the goal and the love for it is there. It's just the process of actually obtaining these things is more difficult. Sorry, my cat won't stop. The goals and aspirations for actually obtaining these things is a lot more difficult than just saying and speaking it into will, but I will continue to speak it into will because it will happen. I will own a farm. I will grow enough food to put up for a year. I will have chickens. I will have a cow because I want a cow. I want to raise my own meat because that would be incredible. I want to be able to give those animals that I enjoy consuming meat. I like the flavor, I like the texture, I like cooking with meat. I would love to be able to give those animals a life that I could feel was good enough for them to sacrifice for me. And me having my hand in that would make me feel so much better than just being blind to the whole process. Because I'm not willing to go vegan. If I had health concerns that made me do so, I would, but I don't want to by any means. So I want to own enough land that can support those things, those aspirations, those goals, and basically be able to leave behind a legacy for my family that I want to have. And my dreams reach way beyond that. There are so many more facets to this dream. And currently, those are the ones that I will be sharing with you guys. I rent the current property that I'm on, and I'm grateful for the space that it has provided me because it is so much more expansive than the 1-bedroom apartment that I lived in previously. I actually have a yard that I can grow a garden in. It was the one thing that as soon as I saw the pictures for this place, it was the backyard that got me, because I knew I was actually going to be able to grow a garden. And this is the perfect place for me to learn, to get my feet wet, to start learning how to pressure can, which I've gotten into this year, learning more and getting more comfortable with canning, with preserving all of my harvests, making sure that I am harvesting at the opportune times for those crops, and how to better get, how to get better yields of those crops. Doing it on a smaller scale is going to make the time when I actually have a larger property, it's going to be better because I'm going to actually have all these skills set into place so that when I do have that land and hopefully a little more money to put into larger crops, I will feel more comfortable in doing so. This past month was my first farmer's market, which I never really thought I was going to be doing farmers markets, but my friend May, who I've had on the channel once before, she has been doing farmers markets for I think like the past year. This is like her fourth or fifth time doing a market. She is a beekeeper, and so she was selling her honey goods and a few other collaborative items that she had done with other small local businesses. And she had asked me if I wanted to have a table at her booth, and I said of course. And so without really knowing fully what I was going to be selling, I said yes, and I started making a bunch of sourdough goods. So this last booth, I did sourdough chocolate chip cookies, I did sourdough banana bread, and sourdough English muffins, bagels, as well as sourdough starter for those of you who wanted to actually dabble or get your foot into sourdough making as well. And surprisingly enough, I did make money, which, I mean, it wasn't a lot by any means, but I made money. And honestly, just selling even just one pack of cookies made my day, because it meant that I had put effort into something with, you know, care and love, and someone else saw that potential, and the joy of them coming back to tell me that the cookies were the best cookies they had ever tasted was just, it was everything that I needed. So I'm doing another 3 or 4 booths to round out this season, and I'm not really quite sure yet where it's going to take me, but it is fun. I thoroughly enjoyed making the labels, making the little info cards and packaging things up, and as well as just baking the sourdough goodies. I think my favorite part was the design aspect, the creating of the labels, the picking of the materials for packaging, although I had to go on the cheaper scale because I was just starting out and had no clue what to expect. Next time around, I definitely will be not using paper labels because it rained and a lot of those labels kind of just slid right off because they got wet. But you don't know until you do it. So it's the same as gardening. You don't know what you don't know. And so the only way to learn and grow is by doing something and getting that experience. So the next booth that I am doing is like 2 weeks, I think, which means I will need to, I'm gonna be more prepared this time and actually, I think only do fewer items, but I will have it set up so that I will have little taste testers so that people can try the product and then decide if they would want to purchase, and then also get a little bit better of a designed booth, a curated looking booth, to make it look just a little nicer, a little cuter, make it feel more inviting. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming along on this journey with me. Every day is a little different. I definitely fight the imposter syndrome a lot of the time when I create videos for my channel. I get a little nervous about comments and what people will say, but so far everything has been pretty okay. But I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me on my little gardening journey and my homestead journey. And hopefully in the future I can look back on this video and just be like, wow, so many of my goals have been accomplished. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you want to watch any of my other content, I will go ahead and pop a video up here for you. But until the next time, thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.